Okay, this is not going to be a long review because this is just kind of a gag manga, but this is Superman versus Messi. I guess there's like a subgenre of Japan of comics specifically about eating food. Delicious in Dungeon is kind of in this genre where the making and the preparation and eating fine food is a big part of the plot of Delicious in Dungeon, but then they kind of like work it into a broader fantasy world. And apparently that's just like a giant thing. Like every character gets a Meishi manga where they eat food, and this is like an important life experience for them. And here's Luna. She's going to come and chill with us. It wouldn't be the Marmaduke fan show if we didn't have one crazy thing. So this is kind of like a one-note gag, right? If you don't find something inherently funny about the idea of Superman becoming obsessed with cheap chain restaurant Japanese food, well, every chapter in this book is that premise. But I do think it's a pretty clever premise, and it's actually a surprisingly thoughtful look at Superman's character, maybe in spite of or perhaps because of the absurd premise. Hi, Luna. All right, so what I like about it is it's kind of like if you live in Japan and to you, a rice bowl is the equivalent of a hamburger or, the dollar off menu at Taco Bell. It would seem banal, it would seem plain, it would seem very ordinary. And then imagine like an American cowboy comes in and they're a weeb and they eat at this Japanese restaurant and they just think it's the most wonderful, strange experience ever. And then they pay a big tip and they leave. That's kind of like the central point of the humor. It's Superman as the funny, all-American cowboy foreigner. But it's a very charming portrayal of the foreigner. It's sort of because he has this simple Kansas farm boy attitude. Seeing him enjoy really cheap, not that special food is the central gag throughout it. There's actually this really great section where he shows up at like a 7-Eleven because all the restaurants are closed in Japan, and he sees a manga and he kind of identifies with the character on the front of the manga. And it's one of those kind of like big, strong guy type characters with a healthy appetite. So what's interesting is Superman's an all-American character. How do you make an all-American character work in a manga world? And it's sort of Superman as a funny tourist who's just overwhelmed by everything he sees in the culture of Japan. But they identify the character of Superman with a manga personality type, the big, strong guy with a big appetite who's enthusiastic and in love with life. And that's a really good take on Superman. They over and over again, they have him kind of like reminiscing to his time in the farm in Smallville, Kansas, and just being in love with everything he tastes, even if it's like a $5 bowl of noodles, right? And there's like a great one where they even make a point about this. It's specifically like regular restaurants he likes. So Batman finds out about his weakness and tries to take him to a Japanese restaurant to exploit his weakness, and Superman explains, no, it's not that. It's not the fancy restaurant I'm interested in. It's the just nice, quiet little places. Then he gives Batman a religious experience with food. So it is completely goofy. That is the premise. Every chapter is about that premise, but it's almost weirdly charming to see a manga author basically nail the comedic side of Superman. I think that's actually something that isn't appreciated enough. People say, oh, I don't like Superman. He has no weaknesses. Why would anybody like Superman? Because Superman is the perfect hero. There are things you can do with the perfect hero that you actually can't do with a flawed hero. One of them being he's so perfect and he's so super. It's kind of like everything he does in life is also super. Everything he does in life, he does to the absolute extreme, even ordering random dishes of teriyaki and champon and such. So maybe I'll call it the Justice Bowl. And then as he eats his champon, he's reminded of all his friends on the Justice League. You know what? I bet this little manga outsold the entirety of Brian Michael Bendis's run on Superman, and I really hope that's the case, because they deserve to outsell Brian Michael Bendis's run on Superman. Pick it up if you like Superman and you wouldn't mind just a unambiguously silly, goofy, absurd little comedy that actually does kind of like get to the heart of Superman's good guy nature. That's it. Those are my thoughts.